Hey guys, welcome back. Today, we are going to be doing something a little bit different. So, a little bit of background on why I'm doing this. The guy has been in my comment sections for a bunch of different videos, asking me for, I want to say, over a year now, being like, hey, do a video on the Bond CEs. Why have you not done a video on the Bond CEs? You should do a video on the Bond CEs. And I tried to think of the best way to go about doing that. Now, what I ended up coming up with was, well, a lot of Bond CEs are just kind of shit. Let's just be real, chat. So many Bond CEs are just shit. It's plus 15% to one of either Quick, Art, Buster, or it's a 30% NP damage up. Some of them just have you make stars. Some of them are a rainbow buff for 8%. Some of them are just like hyper niche, and then you have Saber Astolfo's, which is increase your Buster crit damage by 100%, and he has one Buster card. Right? A lot of bad ones, a lot of stinkers. So, what I've opted to do is I went through and I looked at every single one of the, 500 Bond CEs that exists, around that 400, 500 mark, and I cherry-picked the ones that I think are the very best. Now, when I did that, I kind of thought to myself on two levels, right? And this is kind of how this ranking is going to go. More or less is, okay, with the incoming Grand system, just about every Bond CE is going to be usable, right? Because it's just like, yeah, even if it's just like, let's just take Ushi, for instance. Ushi's Bond CE gives her 15% quick damage for the entire party. As a standalone CE, it's pretty shit. As a forever passive, as a Grand Servant Ushi, it's pretty good. It's an extra 15% for everybody. It's just extra damage for her, which is good, right? So the criteria that I'm kind of... So the criteria I'm kind of running with here is, would you actively bring these even without the Grand Servant thing? And that's kind of going to be like the determining factor as to like, would you, right? So I narrowed it down to 38, a total of 38 Bond CEs that I believe in both the Grand Servant and standalone are just really, really good. The best of the best. So, if I were to say put, I don't know, the Arash one into D tier, that doesn't mean it's a bad Bond CE. It means it's the best, it's the worst of the best. It's like finding a ruby instead of a sapphire. It was like, it's still pretty damn good, right? So, you all, twitch.tv/glitchradio audience, are going to help me rank where these people land, or where these Bond CEs land once again. Maybe rename the tiers SA. No, it's redundant if we do that. I've given them the explanation. People can come in and be like, why is this amazing CE in D tier, and not like read into context clues at all. Like, for example, why is there only 38 Bond CEs? That's weird. Why are all of these 38 Bond CEs have unique effects for the most part and are really cool? Obviously, the Goat Man is just an idiot and doesn't know what he's doing, right? The Bond CE is actually better than most CEs when... for who? What? For Arash? We'll get into it. So, what you can't see is that I have 38 individual tabs open on my browser that I can click through right now to just get quick looks at them, and then y'all can help me evaluate where you think that these land. Alright? So, we're going to start with Saber Alter, the dragon. This is not the right There we go. The dragon. Everyone's favorite 3D dragon. It does. It's just a strict 30% increase to damage for the NP. Pretty good. And then an on attack, just a permanent on attack. 30% chance to decrease defense by 5% for 3 turns if you're normal attacking. It's pretty good. It follows her game plan pretty well. And when you have this as, like, I don't know, if you're gonna, like, Grand Servant your Salter, for instance, it's really, really solid. She already puts out crazy damage. Just this alone makes it worth it, and then just having a passive that just makes enemies more vulnerable that can stack is really, really good. Most Bond CEs are better than most CEs, but they are not better than the cream of the crop CEs you always... No, they're not. I'm going to hard disagree with that. Most Bond CEs are not worth using. Because most Bond CE's effects are just a party-wide increase to one number, or a party-wide increase to extra damage versus a niche enemy type, or 2 niche enemy types. It's just not... It's just not worth using. This is worth using. It's nice to have that extra little bit of debuff that's attached to it. But it is only 5%. I think C tier. I think C tier for this one. It is only 5% down, and you do have to keep hitting to stack it. I believe that this... No, just normal attacking. Okay. Yeah, it's good. It's solid. It just... If for no other reason, then it just makes her game plan easier. She just hit you harder with her Buster card. Good Bond CE. Next up. Ooh, next up is Musashi. Miyamoto Musashi. Which is just 30% NP damage up, 3 times debuff immunity. That's it. As a standalone CE, like if you're just going to like put this on as her only CE, it's not the best, right? That said, it's not the worst either, because debuff immunity for 3 times without a timer on it is insane. It's so good. It's such a good effect to have. And then it also increases her NP damage, which, you know, Musashi's whole deal is that she puts out pretty crazy NP damage. So it keeps her more consistently in the fight and at the top of her game, and makes her hit harder. What's not to love? I really like the design on this one. I think this is a B. I think it's a B. It's solid. It's super solid. It just makes her do what she wants to do more efficiently and better. And then when you pair this with, I don't know, cranking in the future, or first sunrise on your Musashi when she's able to be granded, and do this, it's going to go crazy. Not to mention Oberon synergy with this. I'm pretty sure it works with this. I just realized as well that there is a future where Black Grail and this CE on Musashi is going to pop the fuck off. Because if you Oberon those things, she can probably hit that max pretty easily, and then also the debuff immunity is pretty good. It's not going to stop the sleep thing, because the sleep thing is a buff, but, you know. good. I think B. I think B is good. Alright, now for the Bond CE, I probably have either the most or the second most amount of experience using. Barghest. The Stomach Destroyer. Barghest's grand feast that she gives to us, as well as a collar, because she's kinky like that. I know that they're treated like buffs, which is why I said that isn't going to matter for her. But I'm saying that having that debuff immunity stuff is good regardless. All right. When equipped on Barghest, 30% NP damage up. On grant self buff on attack buff. 30% chance to increase own max HP by 500 for 3 turns when normal attacking. This is an S tier. I use this CE as is already. This CE without the grand system is already good enough to use with her and her to work efficiently. If you want evidence of that, look no further than my Barghest the Mighty series that I did, where I just used her to solo everything in the BB Fest, and I mean literally everything in the BB Fests. The 30% feels like it's a 50% chance. It just happens all the time. She just always is having extra health, and it's so good. Because it's effectively every time she hits somebody, every other time she hits somebody, she's going to heal for 500, and it makes her big. And when she gets bigger, it means that she is able to tank NP hits more efficiently. It makes it so good. And then, of course, this mitigates the fact that the CE naturally only has 100 attack, because this kind of more or less makes up for it with this extra 30% here. And then, you know, the way how her kit works is that she's already building herself up to have a huge health pool by using her NP, which then puts cooldowns on all of her stuff. She eats people's buffs, uses her NP again, keeps doing that, keeps hitting people. In a solo context, she's crazy. Absolute monster. This is why Barghest is best girl. Best Fey Knight, S tier. And then I can only imagine that once the grand system is implemented, this CE is going to be one of the most powerful ones, easily. Because then it becomes like this isn't even needed in like a solo context to be as useful as it is. But I even use this outside of the solo contest. It's just that solo context. It's just that good.
Best kind of woman is a woman that can eat a lot.
True. Yeah, it's very, very strong, and Barghest is a goddamn monster with it. Next, this is Nobukatsu, who I think... There, you know, we're just gonna go by class. Next up is good old Rich. Richie Rich. I don't know Richard the Lionheart's lore well enough to know what the fuck is going on with these busty women.
Speaking of Katsu, I just banned Shi mine.
Nice. So Rich, when equipped, increase parties critical damage of Buster cards by 30% while self is on while he's on the field. It's just all Buster cards have 30% more crit damage. Now, in a vacuum, that sounds okay, right? That's fine. It's solid. And then you remember how his kit is designed to make him just do that? So he's always doing Buster crits and has so much Buster crit built into his kit already. It synergizes really, really well with him. This is only for a few selected, not everything, but yeah. Yeah, we are going to ignore why the lions are women. This isn't helping many people out very much. Yeah, it fits. So what you're gonna find is that if a Bond CE fits a servant's game plan like really well, those are the ones I've more or less put into this super list, right? Unique ones that make it so that the servant can do their niche even better, but it isn't something universal, like more damage against lawful and also more damage against evil units. Like I don't care. Sure, it's cool, but I don't care. Yeah, this one is good. It just makes him hit dudes harder. And as a result, I think it is C. It doesn't have that extra... Oh, it's either C or D. Maybe I put this one into D. This one is good, but it's only 5% defense down, which kind of sucks. I think this one is a little bit stronger because the Buster thing is more consistent with good old Richie Rich. Okay, nice. Next, Gilgamesh. So, fun fact, I believe Gilgamesh and Cú have the exact same Bond CE. Where is it? Let me check. 30%, 30% NP damage on attack, 30% chance to increase critical damage by 10% for 3 turns. Literally the exact same thing. And I could have picked one who it's stronger on than the other, but it works on both of them really well. Like Gilgamesh is he likes to crit. Dude likes collecting them stars and critting with them. And he also has the means to collect them, which Cú doesn't, from what I'm remembering. So it is more useful on him. I will say though, while Gilgamesh can utilize crits more often,
From use, he's a crit beast. He's my wife.
while Gilgamesh can utilize crits more often, I feel like he just kind of doesn't get the opportunity most of the time. I feel like most of the time you're kind of just using him for his NP, but this is extra. This also assists his NP, which does help. It's pretty good. I think that for him, it's probably a B tier. Pretty good. In opposition, we'll just do Cú because his is the same effect. Right here. Cú is either C or B. I feel like it'd be C. The only thing that Cú has that might bump him into B is that when Cú uses it, it makes his solo context so much better because it gives him more damage. You know what I mean? It gives him access to more consistent damage. Well, consistent is a 30% chance to land, but you know, if he's solo and he hits 3 times, one of those is bound to hit. I think B is fair. It's the same CE. It's the same CE and it works on 2 servants who can make use of it. Alright, next up, Arash. The legend himself. And I don't think I would have considered using this one had the Grand Servant thing not been a part of it, but because it is, this is one that's worth remembering exists. Because, you know, I feel like a lot of people, a lot of FGO players, are going to have the Bond 10 Arash, because, you know, Arash gets a lot of use, even from high-level people, because he's really, really strong. Yeah, it's when Arash dies, everybody in the party heals for 5,000 and it removes everybody's debuffs. It's maybe one of the best support effects in the entire game. Just straight up heals everybody, removes debuffs. Now, maybe if those were in reverse, it would be the single best one. Just because, you know, if there's like a heal reduction up on your team, that's still going to get hit by that, but you know. Yeah, as Arash is right now, it's not the best because you still have to get him up to his full NP, which it's not as hard as it once was, but, you know, it's still a bit of a chore to do. But if you can now just slap Arash with, you know, a K-scope, or, you know, a 50% thing and you have his pens and then his battery. His is a 30% battery, right? My brain is bad. I don't really use Arash very often. I'm like a fake Fate fan, but I'm pretty sure it's a 30%. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, it's just a full cleanse after your farming node. Maybe something got fucked, and then he's able to nuke, and then you're good. You'd usually fire Arash immediately when everyone still has full health. Normally, yeah, but it adds some universal applicability to him. You can backline Arash in an instance where you just need to clear a wave. Maybe it's like, I don't know. It's a boss fight that requires you to break the boss's bar. They summon a bunch of adds that you have to kill along with the boss, and then the third bit is that, and then, you know, do that, and then have Arash nuke that, heal everybody, get everybody back up, and then go to the next bit. It's just a nice little extra thing that you can give. So, you know, it's also a really unique one, which I like. It is a little bit more niche, so I am going to put it into C. But still pretty good. Next up. This one might seem weird to people. How many of you know whose Bansii this is? I would be curious. Kid Gil? Nope. Ben K? Nope. To be fair, there are a lot of Bansiis that are just a bunch of gold. Darius? Nope. Good guesses, all those. Nitocris, Juna, Drake, Blackbeard. It was Arjuna. This is Arjuna's Bansii. Which increases NP damage by 30%, increases critical star absorption by 1000%. Arjuna is rich. Arjuna is very rich. This motherfucker is stanced up on a throne in his Ascension 3, or in his final Ascension art. Yeah, it's certainly. I'm noticing a pattern part 2. Oh, you mean the 30% NP damage? I mean, it helps. So, one of Arjuna's biggest issues.
He got that bottom bitch like us.
One of Arjuna's biggest issues is the fact that he has trouble doing damage, right? And that's also partially because he has trouble getting his NP. Now, that second bit can be alleviated with supports, and while the first bit can be as well, Arjuna wants to be able to make use of stars in his kit. So he can do his extra damage with this. He has gotten a little bit of a glow up. This should not be an 8-turn skill. It does make it a little bit tanky, though, which is kind of nice. And then, yeah, Clairvoyance is debuff immunity, and then just makes more stars, but, you know, fucker has 2 cards that do it. If you can pair him with somebody else who helps to make stars, and then he can collect those stars and make use of them, that alleviates his inability to, like, get his NP quickly. And so it helps to make Arjuna actually work. And an Arjuna that works... Does an archer really need 1000% star weight? This one does. This one does. Yeah, you, It definitely makes him work better. It's not like the universal fix for him, but it definitely makes him operate on a much higher level, which is good. Yeah, he needs every star that he can get, because if he can crit with his arts cards, he can get his NP decently well. Because he also has a triple art deck, so I mean, that's kind of what alleviates it. But if he can crit on those arts as well, then it makes it way better. And then, of course, you know, the 30% NP damage to make him hit harder is always good. Mind you, it's a weaker effect for a bit of a weaker servant. But it does make Arjuna, who is, by all intents and purposes, one of the worst 5 stars in the entire game, a much better unit. So for that, I'm going to put it on this list. D tier, but it's on the list. Next up, ooh. Isn't Arjuna's NP lackluster? No, Arjuna's NP is probably the best part about him. The only issue with it is that it's a 1-hit. So this is Jane. Now, this one is a little bit weird at first glance, but take it from somebody who has a level 100 Jane and can tell you what her weaknesses are. This one makes it better. You're detecting a pattern part 3. Increase NP damage by 30%. Gain 20 stars when entering the field. Now, as a standalone CE, I don't think I would ever just send in Jane with this instead of something like the Holy Knight Quick one, the Holy Knight Quick CE, right? Because that one's just universally better for what she's trying to do. With the introduction of Grand Servants and the Grand Servant system, being able to equip your Bond CE is so good because Jane doesn't make a lot of stars. Which you think that she would because she is a quick servant, but she doesn't make a lot of stars. And that really sucks because she has a crazy good skill. What the fuck? Oh, this is after it's updated. She has a crazy good skill, which makes her so insanely good. But it only works if you have 50 critical stars. Now, getting those first 20 to 30 are not that bad. But getting a full 50 on turn 1 is difficult. But it can be accomplished with this Bond CE. It's really good. I completely forgot that they did this. So now she only needs to be able to make 20 of them. If you're running a double Summer Scotty setup, you can do that. Even if all of these whiff, God, they've really made her really good with this, huh? I forgot they did this. Damn. They'll give her yeah, they did. That definitely helps, but it doesn't nullify the usability of this. Because then again, the other issue that Jane has, someone, again, NP5, level 100, her NP damage doesn't hit that hard. It hits decently okay, but it doesn't hit that hard. So anything that helps to make that pop off more is good. And so I really like this for her. Yes, 22 million download campaign is tomorrow. It's Arash Fest. And so for all of that, I'm going to give the Jane one a D. Only because I forgot. It would have been a C if I hadn't forgot that her skill got buffed. This does make her more consistent, but now she doesn't need to be as consistent as before. But still, good one nonetheless. Okay. Nobukatsu. When equipped on Oda Nobukatsu, grants self on death activate buff, evasion to Nobunaga allies, except self for 2 attacks, 3 turns when defeated. I'm just going to put this into D tier. No, the effect is great. The effect is absolutely great. Because it plays into what his niche is. Which is that you want... Very rarely do I think do you actually want to bring Nobukatsu in contexts that are not with a Nobunaga servant, right? That isn't to say his skills aren't good. Like, I mean, this is okay. And I think it's his... Yeah, the taunt is also okay. This one, not so much, but... It's still okay. His kit is okay. But you want to bring him when you have Nobus, right? Otherwise, his NP is kind of, like, useless. I am... Hey, that's Naked Boy. I am a firm believer that having a Bond CE that plays into that niche, especially one that if you're, like, a psychopath and you decide to Grand Servant your Nobukatsu, and I would assume if you're doing that, you're also going to be Grand Servanting a Nobunaga as well, because why wouldn't you? It just makes it work so much better. It's too niche, which is the issue, but it fits into the niche that he already has, which makes him work really, really well. So I think D tier is fine. You'll use 1 grand per battle, imagine. Anyway, next up. Bob! Another Lost Belt girl. Lost Belt 6 girl. God, I really do just like the 30% NP damage, huh? You had to call it out, and now I'm just realizing that you're right. When equipped on Bob, 30% NP damage, 30% chance on attack, charge NP gauge by 5% when normal attacking. Fantastic. Again, I don't think I would use this solo. I don't think I would use this in place of, Traces of Christmas is what it's called. In a Grand Servant setting, though, this is such a good Bond CE. It just... She already, cranks out her NP really fast, so having her be able to crank out her NP even faster is so good. And then, she also makes a crazy good amount of stars, and also pops the fuck off when she needs to. It's really, really, really strong. It makes a servant who's already fairly consistent even more consistent with their damage. I'm going to knock it some points for not being as usable outside of that, but I'm going to put it into B regardless, because it is very good. It's definitely one that's worth, it's worth using. All right, next. Motherly Heart. Yep. This is for Tut. When equipped on Tutankhamun, grant self gut status for 1 time, revives with 10% HP, stackable with other guts, important. Grants self on guts activate buff for 3 turns, charges party's NP gauge by 10% when gut status is activated. Grants self on death activation buff, charges party's NP gauge by 10% when defeated. Now, King Tut's whole deal is that this little shit keeps dying. He just keeps dying. Yay, Necromancy Gaming. Oh my god, dude, the Necromancy, this CE, King Tut Grand Servant strat is real. That's going to be goofy. Yeah, he's a single target Arash, essentially. is that he's theoretically, what you want him to be able to do is fire himself at one big guy, kill the big guy, and then in the next wave, if he survived, go and do that again. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but he dies on NP, right? Yeah. Yeah. And so he has guts built into his kit as well, which also charges his NP gauge. So he can do this, pop this guts, go in, do it again, and then just keep doing it again, and then doing it again, and then doing it again. Depending on how you build it, he can clear, like, he can do some pretty nasty multi-core shit with this Bond CE. So, I think it's pretty interesting. Plus, then it also, like, over time, it increases your party's NP gauges as well. So you don't have to expend as many resources while you're doing that. I think it's pretty good. I'm a big fan. That said, I think C tier is good. It's maybe a little bit harder to pull off, but still good. It's still a good one to do. Okay. Oh. Snake. What's the one that's in S? That's Bargy. Hey, welcome back. Biscione. Grants own NP damage by 30%. There it is again. Self-debuff on attack, but... Wait, what? Self-debuff on attack buff. Inflict poison with 500 damage for 5 turns to enemies when critical attacking. Now, Biscione makes a lot of stars and crits with relative ease. If dudes are really, really poisoned, her NP deals more damage. And when her NP deals more damage, it's probably gonna... She's able to make a lot of stars, utilize a lot of stars, poison a bunch of people, NP, and then do that for the entire fight over and over and over again. It's a very rare unit who is able to make complete use of the poison gimmick. I've been using her on JP because I 10-10-10'd her and have been using her just, because she's hot. And it's been fantastic. I don't have the Bond CE for her yet, but Lord knows I'd like it. It's really strong. Yeah, pretty good. It's a pretty good one. This one, do I think it's Barghest tier is the question. I'm going to put it into A. Whenever the Bond or the Grand Servant thing rolls around, this is probably one of the very best ones. That you can probably, like, if you're just doing it purely for getting the value out of your Bond CEs, this is one of the best ones. It's harder to justify bringing it otherwise. I mean, it's still good. It's still good even without that because the effect is super strong and it synergizes with our kit super, super well. But sometimes the extra... But then again, it just makes up for that extra damage already. Yeah, whatever. S. Who cares? Next, George. Well, I'm just gonna... S tier. Without even needing to see the rest, S tier. Yeah, in case you don't know, which I don't know how you don't, but in case you don't know, what this does is that when George dies, he gives everybody in the party invincibility for 1 attack, and then reduces the party's damage taken, except for himself, because, he's dead, for 3 turns. That's it. That's all it does. Now, the amount of times this is just so good. So unbelievably good. For, like, let's say, like, story content fights, boss fights, event quests, challenge quests. It's just so good. You just need to be able to tank one hit. Georgios' kit, as is good because he can just stall. He can just stall for so long, solo. And then when you need to get rid of him, this is a great way to have him get out and then also take full advantage of even more stall. Is perfect. And yeah, a lot of people will keep a level 1 George in their Chaldea just so that they can have this guy, like this Bonsai, so that they can eat one big-ass hit. It's so good. Yeah, if you have a level 1 George on your support list, you're a real one. We all out here, we know. It's just so good. It's like, on paper, it doesn't seem that good. Cause it's okay, you can eat one hit, and then the damage reduction is there. I guess that's fine. But no, trust me. Trust me. George is insane. I've solo-grailed him. I've soloed Grail fronts with him. Oh, yeah! You can do some pretty nasty shit with George, because he's not a bad unit. Like, his stats are not bad. I mean, he's a bronze servant, but if you grail him, that dude can pop the fuck off. It's pretty good. Okay, here's another one. Here's another good one. Habby. When equipped on Habetrot, increase the healing received of female allies except self by 50% while on the field. I think a lot of people forget that Habetrot, whose mash is that? It's mashes. I think a lot of people forget that Habetrot is a really, really good support unit. I think a lot of people kind of just use her because she has, like, the Arash effect, but as a rider. But, like, I don't know. Spoilers for things happening on NA in, what, a year and a half? I think it's a year from now. But we're gonna have to do a big, nasty boss fight, and one of the legitimate strategies is to have Habetrot be there as like a healer for you, and she can do real good shit with that. Having her be able to, like, make sure that your allies are able to stay up, your female allies stay up, is really good. 50% healing for a servant is a lot, especially considering that Habetrot, I think, is it a 2,000 or a 3,000? Yeah, 2,000, so 3,000 healing every 3 turns. As well as, debuff immunity for 1 turn on that as well, and then star generation because this skill is fucking stupid. It's cracked. Why is this on a 3-turn cooldown? Because fuck off. That's why it's such a strong skill. Like, so long as you don't use this, I mean, you can as a contingency if you just need to get rid of Habetrot for something, and this skill is really good too. It's like, she's really solid, man. It's a really good Bonsai for a really good servant. It makes her work as a support even better. Pair with Asclepius. We'll talk about Asclepius because he's also on this list. But yeah, it's a lot of healing. Popping off. It isn't as useful as some of the other ones, but I think it's at least a C. Nah, I'll put it into D. It's maybe a little bit too niche, so I'm going to put it into D. But still, it's a really, really good Bonsai. Okay. This one, I kind of went back and forth on whether or not it should be on this list or not, but I opted to put it on regardless because I like the guy. Kind of just boils down to that. Constantine. When Constantine, when he dies, increase party's attack by 20% for 3 turns, recovers party's health by 5,000. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, like, okay, what the fuck? And you know what? I would agree. If this was just a standalone CE, I don't think you would want to use this, right? Because you don't want your servants to die. And noticing a pattern. Oh yeah, the on-death thing. You don't want your servants to die normally. But, here's the catch, is... Constantine, after his buff, is just a really... It was NP. He's just a really solid, like, defense support to keep you tanked in there. And then if you ever think that, like, okay, well, shit's about to hit the fan and I need this dude... This dude's gonna die and I need people out. If you can just draw enemies to him so that he dies, so you can slot in another support in your backline, and then he also heals everybody, your main DPS and your other support, probably a Castori or like a Merlin or somebody who's been taking damage, then he can save runs pretty consistently with this.
It's Istanbul, not Constantinople.
It is Istanbul, not Constantinople. So if you have a date in Constantinople, they'll be waiting in Istanbul. Because even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say. I guess they just liked it better that way. I told you guys that if they ever release Mehmed II, I'm going to do a Behind the Servants. This is going to be me covering that entire song. I'm just going to do a cover of that song and release it. And that's going to be the Behind the Servants of Mehmed II. I like this one. This one I think is really good. It's still a little bit niche, but I think it's still really good, so I'm going to put it into C. Next. Speaking of Asclepius, here we are.
But is Mehmed II significant enough in history to be a servant?
I need you to clarify if you're being serious about that or not, so I know if I need to make fun of you or not. Zenobia is not on this list, no. I'm being sarcastic? Okay. I was going to be like, I need to know. You never know. You never know with people. I'll be like... Anyway, Asclepius. Increase party's healing received by 30% while he's on the field. That's it. That's it. And you might be thinking to yourself, that's it? Well, when you combine that with, what is it, Wise Fox Wife, I think it's called? The Tamamo one, or any other healing, like, heal up thing, and he can just pump out 100% healing up. But even then, it's just so... This might as well read Heal Servants Default. Pretty much, yeah. It's just, yeah, he now becomes a walking, what's it called, hospital. He can just bring somebody all the way back up to full. On his own. And the ass clap buff. I forget what they buffed about him. I know they gave him guts. Was that it? Okay, so 30% up. Somebody run the math on what is 30% of 5,000? I'm not good enough at math to tell you the answer at that. I know it's not an even number. Well, it is an even number because it can end in a 0, but you know what I mean. It doesn't divide evenly. 1.5k? Gotcha. Is that... That doesn't check out. 1666. It's like 4.5 total. Gotcha. Well, it's that added onto the already 5,000, so it's even more. He can... Essentially, if you have a bronze servant who is on their last leg, he can heal Caligula from 1 to full. Was it this? Yeah, okay, grants self-gut status, okay. 1 time, 3 turns. Oh, and it's also an additional healing rate up, so he can do 130% in his kit already. In other words, this skill becomes heal a servant to full health. Like, with very, very few exceptions, it's just going to fit. This could literally fix a servant. Not so great then? Hard disagree. Because it makes it so that his heal is now even more powerful. It's already a good heal, and plus this one's not on a cooldown. So you're always going to have that 30% heal on him, as opposed to it being a 3-turn, it happens for 3 turns then goes away. I think that's a C. It's good. It's a good. Next up, who killed Cock Robin? Chat, do you know the answer to that question? Chat, who killed Cock Robin? Do you know? You're 30 turns in. Your Barghest has slowly been ground down to 2k health. And then this guy looks at the boss and goes, nah. Again! It's the clown, the gas in the mine. Well, the correct answer is I killed Cock Robin. When equipped onto Alice, increases own NP damage by 30%, grants self debuff immunity while self has the Robin substitution status. Now, if you don't know what Alice does, because you're an NA player, for instance, or you didn't roll for her and she's kind of a niche servant, I don't think she's had very many. Has she had a rate up since? I'm not sure. This Robin status, she does every other turn. In other words, for half the fight, it's okay. It's limited, but not really. But so let's just say for posterity's sake, for half the fight, debuff immune and 30% damage up. Half of the fight, she has debuff immunity. Except I do believe it goes away if she's hit, right? Oh, potentially longer. It goes away after 2 turns, and then you have to reset it. So she has debuff immunity until somebody hits her. God, Alice's kit is so weird. But you don't want to use her with Castoria, though, because she's a quick servant. This is a Scotty girl. Has she had a rate up since the Mahoyo collab? No. She's shown up once. Unless this hasn't been updated. Her Robin buff is a reskin of the Castoria defense? Oh, I see. This skill is like it's really good. I think this one goes into the A tier. She actually did. Okay, so then fandom is just wrong. I think A tier. It would be S tier. But the only downside is that if you get unlucky and she gets hit, it goes away. Did I know that her NP is something supposed to happen in Mahoyo 6? Mahoyo 6? Damn, Nasu's busy. That fucker is never retiring, huh? This is Mahoyo 6? No. I don't even think there's a Mahoyo 2. So this motherfucker's got this shit planned way ahead. Here's the thing, I would believe it. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in this. It's just because if you get unlucky and it gets hit, then it's more or less nullified. But other than that, it's really strong. Shiki, Assassin. This one almost feels like a bit of a meme. But Shiki is one of the very few servants who's able to utilize instant death effectively. Both this Shiki and the other Shiki. And Gramps as well to a degree. But increase parties' instant kill success rate by 30% while on the field. As far as I'm aware, there's like maybe one or two.
Biggest love is writing. He is the type of guy that gets an idea while at dinner and then starts to write on the napkins to not forget loud.
Should I do that? Yeah, there's not very many CEs that increase instant death rate up, and so having one that's a bond CE that you can then potentially in the future slap on as a passive, and then stack it with others is real good. So, I think it's good. I think it's decent. I'm going to... Instant death is still kind of not great, so I'm going to put it into D. But having a CE that's able to do that is really good. We'll get her this year along with Nobu, right? I believe so. Oh. A recent addition to the game, chat. Tezcatlipoca. Tezcat. When equipped on Tez, own NP damage by 30%. There it is again. Grants the party on Guts activated buff. Gain 10 stars when Guts status is activated while he is on the field. Now, it's not the strongest effect. However, the fact that it expands to the full party is what makes it interesting. You can do some goofy shit with this to, like, just farm critical stars off of essentially nothing. So I think it's really interesting. I think it's a really fun one to be able to whip out. Getting used to his second ascension since it's okay as a sprite. I like it. It's a little bit. It's kind of. This is probably another D tier. It's kind of still a little bit niche. And making stars isn't that important, but it's still really good. Like, imagine you have somebody like, I don't know, Herc. I don't know why you're pairing Tez with Herc, but you are. And Herc, with his Bond CE, for instance, he just keeps getting it popped, making stars. It gets popped again, make more stars. And now your Herc has a lineup of goddamn Buster crits that he can use. Looks at Cuckoo with 10 free stars per turn. Oh yeah. Yeah, I like it. It's interesting. Next. Ooh, another personal favorite of mine. Locusta. When equipped on Locusta, increases the party's damage against enemies with poison status by 20%. Just strict 20% more damage if the people you're fighting are poisoned. Am I doing all of them or a random few that I like? I'm just doing the ones I think are the best. Yeah, Biscione Gaming for real. Robin Gaming too? Oh yeah. And then 500% chance to inflict poison with 500 damage to self while they are on the field. In other words, she always is poisoned for 500 damage while she is on the field. This is not a bad thing. Because again, Locusta flips it and reverses it, which means that there is only one turn where she's going to take 500 damage from the poison. And then every other turn she heals for, what is that, 5,000, or not 5,000, Jesus, for 1,000. She just has heals for 1,000 every other turn. What is this one? Yeah. It's like, it's so good. I am a huge fan of this one. And I'm probably overrating it by putting it up here. It probably am. I'm going to put it into B tier. I think it's really, really, really strong.
I quote Hankoku, she is not broken. She is lore accurate.
True. She is on the banner soon. I might have to skip the Pope, unfortunately. Next. Oh, well, that's a... Yeah, I don't think we need to have this conversation. If you know about any servant's bond CE, you know about Herc's bond CE, and then it gives him 3 fucking guts that stack. No, they don't. It gives him 3 guts, and then his other gut stacks. Right? Or am I tripping? Did they change this to stack? They did. Okay. Yeah, like this is the poster boy of Bond CEs, is Herc. And it's because it works so well with him, because then it makes Herc a soloing machine. He can just go in, bonk a dude tries to bonk Herc back, Herc fine, Herc bonk back.
Christianity is temporary, funny nuclear beep is forever.
True. Ugh. Yeah, it's really strong. And then, of course, you can also just pair this with other... When the Grand Servant thing comes around and somebody makes Grand Servant Herc and then gives him Necromancy on top of this and then can potentially do the funniest thing ever, it's going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, it's so good. Alright. This is another one of my favorites. One of my first... Is it my first? It might be my first Bond CE. Cú Alter, 30% NP damage.
Enemy, why won't you die?
30% NP damage, permanent guts. It's like a miniature version of what Herc's does on a character that is incredibly tanky already and does insane amounts of damage. At NP1, Cú Alter can destroy most content just because of how good his kit is. If you have his kit and you have this, imagine this, but he can have cranking with it as well, for instance. He can do so much damage. Dude is going to be ripping and tearing until God is dead.
I love my band, Cú Alter.
Does Cú Alter also have the guts? Yes. I don't think they ever buffed it. Yeah, it's still just a battle continuation, which I'm going to call it right now. This skill gets buffed in the future. I'm predicting that this skill gets buffed in the future to have a 6-turn cooldown and an extra effect. Oh yeah, and of course, this is why he's so tanky. Like, the defense, who gives a shit? 5-turn cooldown, avoid 2 attacks. Never goes away, but just avoid 2 attacks. Yeah, they'll make this stackable. They'll make it a bust. They'll have a buster up on it. And then it'll make it a 6-turn cooldown and 3,000 HP. they're going to do it. I mean, I really like this skill too. Cú Alter is one of my favorite servants ever, and there's a lot of bias behind that because he's, I think, my second 5-star ever, and I've used him for everything forever. Like, my two 5-star servants could not be more different. It's Da Vinci, OG Da Vinci, and then Cú Alter. And both of them I have at Bond 10, and while I don't use Da Vinci very much anymore, I do use Cú Alter still a decent amount because he just does so much damage. And I use him with his Bond CE. Unless, I feel like I'm not going to need it. They need to give this man more love. He's so good. I'm not going to put it into EX or into S, but I will put it into A. Just because it makes a character who's already incredibly difficult to kill even more difficult to kill, and then gives him more damage with his NP, which already does a shit ton of damage. And then when you factor in Grand Servanting people, it's just going to go insane. I see Arjuna Alter. That is correct. Catboy time. Self-invincibility for 3 attacks, NP damage 30%. Simple. Arjuna Alter's biggest weakness, he's a berserker. That's also his greatest strength. His biggest weakness is that he is a berserker. Having something that alleviates that by making it so that he cannot be hit under most circumstances 3 times is really good. When you combine this with, again, I keep mentioning the Grand Servant thing, but when you combine this with the upcoming Grand Servant thing, it's really, really strong. I did do Sashi's, yeah. Sashi's is a B. Sashi's is really strong. All of these are really strong. Again, I'm going to repeat this because now we're about halfway through. These are, in my opinion, the best Bond CEs. This group here. I looked through all of them. These are the ones that I could think of that are the best. Now, I definitely missed some. People were mentioning Zenobia, for instance, and I'm not as familiar with it, so you know.
I think the 30% anti-up is scarier than the involve.
But these are like the ones that I would say, if you're looking to pick one servant in your Chaldea to backline to get their Bond up for whatever reason, these are the ones I would recommend going for. And yes, the 30% NP damage up on him is very scary, especially considering that there are going to be times in the very near future when he's just going to be able to pop the fuck off for no reason. Because they're going to let you have Cranking, or First Sunrise on him, or Black Grail. Can you imagine that? Black Grail, Bond CE, Arjuna Alter, 110% NP damage up on top of his skills. Got some goofy shit coming down the pipeline. And then he also just has 3 invincibility, so he can't die. He can't be killed off rip. Yeah, that's not even factoring in supports like Oberon. Yeah, it's just... Or Koyanskaya or anybody like that. Forget about it. FGO is going to get really goofy with this Grand Servant thing. I'm very curious to see what they end up doing with it. Did I rate this one? A tier. I think it's up here as well. Next. Ooh, I love this Bond CE. I'm waiting for the first person in my chat to say it, because I know you know whose this is. Yep. There he is. It's your boy, John Fate, a.k.a. Mr. Mahoyo. Man. Sorry, you guys are going to listen to me be feisty. When equipped on Shizuki Sojurow, NP damage up by 30%. I'm very clearly biased towards seeing that number, I suppose. Give him guts for one time.
Oh my god, it is guy.
Now...
Not man, the man.
The man, yeah. Now, what you may be asking yourself, that doesn't seem that good, right? You give him guts? Who gives a shit? Sojurow's whole kit is that he's like Arash or Tut, except he's that to the extreme. And so he can do some pretty gnarly shit with his kit, because why not? And so having him be able to launch his NP, which is incredibly powerful, and NP5 sees a welfare, kill a motherfucker, come back, and then do it again is real good. And then, of course, you know, the 30% more on his NP damage as well helps him out a lot. It's a... Believe me, it's hard to explain because his kit is so bizarre. Like, he has the avoid dying to lethal damage fucking 5 times. He has this that just, at max level, just multiplies it just multiplies his HP. And then also, this synergizes with the guts, because the guts revives him at 20% HP.
Sojurow funny is effect is ignoring damage cut instead of defense on NP kick.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, he gets the full 100% crit up then, because if he gets revived, so he can then crit a motherfucker to death before hitting them. This multiplies whatever his NP value is, so if you have if you have 100% NP, it goes up to 200%. And then this, where you just pick what cards you want him to have in the next turn. And it increases that card's performance by 30%. It's one of the most weird kits in the entire game.
Fun fact, this guy is not weak to Arjuna Alter.
Yeah, why would he be? Also, yeah, he is immune to being terrified, confused, or skill seal because he's too stupid. He is such a weird unit. So believe me when I say that his bond CE, while it seems unassuming, is a B or an A. He can look Van Gogh in the face and be like, who is this sassy lost child? For his game plan, I think B. I think B. It's still really good. Okay. Who next? Ooh. There it is again, 30%. Learn a lot about myself. It's Kagekiyo. And this is, I think, the exact same one as Sojurow's. And it's, oops. This one, as opposed to Sojurow, I think is actually just S tier. Because it is so good for Kagekiyo. It just, okay, Kagekiyo can NP loop on her own pretty consistently, like in a solo context. Why they let her do that, I don't understand.
It's not that he is stupid, he has his moments of brilliance. It's just that Sojurow is so dense, black hole runs in fear.
I mean, stupid is a word I would use to explain that as well. Stupid doesn't directly correlate to intelligence, and yes, her gut stacks, I'm pretty sure, on its own. Yeah. 4-turn guts, by the way, 3000 HP revive, because this game is stupid. And then also, you know, gives her the Thirst for Vengeance thing, which does all of this. Just more NP damage for her to pop. it perfectly synergizes with everything that Kagekiyo stands for, while also making her more survivable, which she already is. But, you know, if you've ever done a Kagekiyo, like, long-form Kagekiyo run, then you know that every now and then you end up in this situation where it's just like, okay, my guts are on cooldown, I'm not going to be able to make it in time, this kind of, like, really sucks. It's nice to have that pocket guts that can, cover that for you. It's just an extra bit of insurance in there, and then if it does get popped, her NP just does more damage. Which is already doing more damage because it has this. In the Grand Servant context, where she's able to have like things that directly impact her cards, this is going to be one of the best Bonsi's in the entire game, hands down. Next up, I don't think I should be zoomed in on that. This one's weird. Chloe, Summer. When equipped on Chloe, increase own NP damage by 30%. Grant self on entry activate buff for 3 times, which is that the party gets the manuscript completion buff for 5 turns when she comes into the party, or when she comes into the field. Which, the reason why this is so good is because her entire kit revolves around manuscript completion. She needs to be able to have complete manuscripts, and then if you have enough of them, she's able to do her big charge thing and then pop the fuck off, right? She's a really weird servant to understand how to use, and I don't really know how to use her properly, but yeah, you want 10 manuscripts, is what I'm remembering. And then once you have those 10, you are able to pop her, I think, is there a third skill? Yeah, removes all of them, charges the NP by how many that you have, and then just pop off. So, by having this, you cut that time in half. I have conflicted feelings on the illustration for that CE. Don't look at it too long. Yeah, it lets her do what she wants to do more often and makes her more effective. It would be like if Castoria's CE gave her like a cooldown reduction after she used all of her skills. B. It's kind of weird to use because using Chloe already is kind of weird, but it's not bad. It's not a bad one by any stretch of the imagination. Okay. Alright, chat. Whose Bond CE is this? The Gay Ray. Too complex. Can I just press red instead? This is one of the most unassuming Bond CEs that exists. Yeah, it's Ciel. Ciel, sorry. NP, I really did just choose all of the ones that said NP damage up by 30%, huh? I didn't even realize that I did that, but yeah. Is this servant gay? Worse, she's French. Yeah, it's 30% NP damage up. Every turn, NP gauge up by 5%. Recovers own HP by 500 every turn. Now, it doesn't seem like the best thing in the world, right? Well, again, much like French, almost as bad as the British. Yeah. Is Ciel French? Am I wrong about that? Am I fucked up? Oh, she's French Catholic. Oh, God.
Yes, she is a French Catholic Kappa.
It's gonna be like, I'm pretty sure she's French. Ciel's whole deal is that she wants to be at full health as often as possible. Right? That's like what she wants to do. And when she is, she does a lot more damage. And she has a lot of defense built into her kit, as you can see. So it's hard to do damage to her. Having something that keeps her on top of her, like essentially on top of her game, and also increasing her her NP gauge is really good for her. It makes her shine really, really well. This name has popped up a lot. I'm just curious. The Bonsi guy. Anyway. Yeah, it just works well with her kit. I don't think it's the best one. I'm probably going to put it into D tier, but it works very well with her kit. Next. Now. Proof of graduation, of course, is Hakuno, or in this case, Hakunon. They have the same Bonsi.
Her Bonsi is Larva and Ciel, rainbow in the sky.
Yeah, I chose Hakunon, so I'm going to choose Hakunon here as well. It's the same. They do the same thing. Increase own NP gauge. God damn it. NP damage by 30%. Increases own extra attack performance by 50%. And then grant self buff on attack buff. Gain 10 stars when attacking with extra attack cards. Now, her kit, or rather their kit, because, you know, it's multiple motherfuckers, they have extra attack shit built into their kit, don't they? Or am I just tripping? I might be tripping. Why do I remember that? Why do I remember that they had extra attack stuff built into their kit? My brain is being bad. Yeah, regardless. Really good. It's a good one. It makes it so that you want to be attacking more often with them anyway, because their whole kit makes them do goofy ass shit. Yeah, pretty good. There are fewer than 50 critical stars gain critical. That is, they're so weird. The Hakunos are so weird. I love them so much. It's good. Anything that helps you make stars off of doing essentially nothing is good. And it's also, you know, extra attack performance up, pretty good.
You confusing the fact that they have a lot of funny effects on cards, like the ability to cast evade done quick.
That is what I'm forgetting, but it encourages you to chain with them essentially, so then you get more benefit out of them using their extra attack cards as well, which is good. I like them. It's a little bit more, maybe a D. Still good. Okay. Ooh, boy. This one is really, really strong. When equipped on Kingprotea, increase Buster performance by 20%. Increase own attack by 20% while she has HP growth status. In other words, on the vast majority of her attacks, she is going to just do 40% more damage. Which is insane. Not even getting into how didn't her growth it got buffed again. It got buffed again. It's an even huger scale. It's like, it's such a good buff already to be in that status. Like, you don't really use infantile regression that often to get rid of it. Yeah, the vast majority of the fight, you're gonna have just 40% more damage. 500% chance to reduce party's quick performance by 10%. Who gives a shit? If you're main DPSing with Protea, do you really give a fuck about a quick card?
Bigger.
Do you really give a fuck about using your quick card? No. yeah, it's just a really, really good. It's so good. It's giving a character whose whole game plan is to Unga and Boonga really hard more tools to Unga Boonga. And then, of course, once again, Grand Servant thing coming in. Pair this with any, big buster damage up CE, and you're going to be in the fucking woods with that shit. But did Habi make that gown? Good question. No? If I'm remembering right, Habetrot was too afraid of KP because KP would have been like, make me a dress. And she's just like, but you're huge and change size. I like this one. It's a B. It's for sure a B.
Kingprotea in a nutshell is red because the building size punches red with the blood of your enemies now.
Pretty much. N-bar. Otherwise known as Man McLear's horse. Pretty simple. Increase NP damage by 30%. Grant self gut status for one time, 20%. Fantastic. It does what it's a great CE for her. Again, it's simple, but when you have a character like Baz, it just makes it work. Because, it sucks if you're using Baz and she gets hit and then she dies, right? Is this the third time we see this exact effect? Probably. Her NP damage does scale with her NP, which is a weird way to say that, but I have to clarify that because she has a very, very unique NP. Yeah, she is really, really good. Anything that does more damage onto that, like to make her NP hit even harder, is great. Having something that gives her more survivability is also really, really good, because a problem that Baz tends to run into, speaking from experience as somebody who uses Baz a decent amount, a problem she tends to run into is that she runs out of defenses eventually. And normally, it's right around that time when the enemy has their NP and then she dies. Being able to mitigate that by at least one turn is so good. Like, she can loop her NP relatively well so long as you get good cards. But, yeah, it's so good. So does the counterattack count as NP? Yes. Do I think it's A tier? I'm gonna put it into B tier. I think B is fair. Okay. I'm just gonna take a moment to read off. I'm just gonna show off the lore to this one, because this is maybe my favorite lore to a Bond CE. All that this is Zhu Fu on her deathbed trying to give her last will and testament, like her last final words. Here's what I want you guys to do. God, I'm so glad I can finally rest. And then her pupils keep coming up to her being like, hey, by the way, this thing, hey, can you check this work? And then she's like, you fucked it up. And then it just keeps happening. And it just keeps more problems. She's like, I can't be dying right now. It's so funny. Anyway. Guts for her, which is good. Having Zhu Fu able to survive longer is very good, because she's a very good unit. And then, whenever her guts is popped, get 30 stars. Pretty simple. You want that to happen. Zhu Fu being able to make stars is very strong. She already does a decent enough job with other aspects of supporting. Hi. That was weird. Thank you, OBS, for crashing. What was the last thing you heard me say? His last words, if you time this right. That's so funny if that was actually the last things I said. Anyway, sorry, if you're watching this on YouTube, stream died. We're back, though.
But it's Shufu, stream crash jump scare.
Right? Yeah, if you time this right, you can farm content properly. Anyway, I now have to splice this video together in fucking Sony Vegas because I'm... Anyway. Yeah. To answer the question I saw earlier, no, I did not include Alco on this list because, I feel like Alco's is a little bit redundant. It's not that it's bad, it's just like it's just a little bit too much. I feel like it doesn't do enough. It is a good one though. If it was on this list, it'd be a D. Anyway, next. Recurrence. Tiamat. Very, very simple one. When equipped on Larva Tiamat, charges party's NP gauge by 5% every turn when she is on the field. That's it. Now, doesn't seem very good, right? It's kind of whatever. It's a whatever kind of skill. Every turn, just 5%. Who gives a shit? In the Grand Servant context, it's really, really good because it's just passive NP gauge every single turn, and then you combine this with Tiamat's third skill, which happens every other turn and gives you 10% NP gauge. In other words, goodness. In other words, every other turn you get 15% NP gauge. It's just a passive on a unit like Tiamat, who is really, really strong. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good one. Now, I'm only going to put it into the D, but it's still pretty good. Alright, next. The bugs are back. This is Kazura Drop. With one of the weirdest named Bonsies I've ever seen. An extra moment at the foot washing mansion. When equipped on Kazura Drop, increases own NP damage by 30%. There it is. Increases own critical damage against the same class enemies as own by 30%, except some classes, which is just Shielder and Beast. In other words, her passive, which makes her do more damage against people who are the same class as her, as well as her ability to change classes into other classes, is now even better because now she just does way more damage. I use Kazu a lot, and she does a fuck ton of damage as is. Her crit damage is solid, and she makes a lot of stars. So, her being able to then utilize that even more to do even more damage pretty consistently is really fucking good. It's really good. Are the bugs really back if they never left? I mean, yeah. I would put this up into the A, just because it flows with her kit so unbelievably well. And it also makes her the best unit to kill other alter egos with.
Kazura Drop in a nutshell summers Kadi, but also a fucking stupidly strong DPS.
She's really good. I wish more people on JP would put her on their support list, because after the event ended, so many took them off, and you kind of need two of them to work. Does she become an insane foreigner killer? Oh my god, dude. Speaking of, Van Gogh. When equipped to Van Gogh, gain 8 stars every turn, increases party's critical damage by 15% while self is on the field. This seems like garbage, right? The only reason why it's not is because it's on Van Gogh. Yeah, 2 Van Goghs with the Bond CE, 2 Grand Van Goghs with the Bond CE. Yeah, I would not use this solo. In the Grand Servant context, it's insane. So this is not an uncommon one that you'll see. This is one of the ones that got cut from the vast majority of servants. The difference being with Van Gogh is that Van Gogh utilizes stars and utilizes crits way better than most servants do. It's because Van Gogh herself is a EX tier untouchable golden god of a servant, that having a Bond CE that's kind of good is elevated by the fact that she is so good. And that these are 2 things that both correlate with her kit incredibly well. It's so good.
And of course, she got buffed.
Yeah, right. Why wouldn't she? Alright, final 3. Let's start with Cuckoo. Increases NP damage by 30%. Gain 20 critical stars for 1 time when entering the field. It's the exact same one as Jane. And just like Jane, this helps out a lot because Cuckoo utilizes stars very effectively. Being able to open up a fight and pop 2 of her skills, honestly, you're probably going to be popping the effect for the battery, and then the effect for the attack and the effect for the buster one up immediately. And then after that, just, you just give her the NP, and then she just can pop the fuck off from there. Simple. Easy. Yeah, and then the 30% NP damage as well is just like, of course, because that's what Cuckoo needed. That's what Cuckoo needed, was the ability to hit even harder with her NP. Yeah, this one's kind of self-explanatory, just because it just fits in with what she does already so well. You really need the batteries of 8 on turn 1. That's what I'm saying. I think this one is an S, even though the effect is kind of simple, just because of how well it works with her entire kit. It enables her to pop the effects of her first 2 skills instantly. And then, you go on and then shit on Koyan Sky of Dark. Alright. Last 2. Aestus Estus.
Boy, can't wait for when we get foreign our class Caren. She becomes even more stupidly broken.
Does this guy just get the ones that are overpowered? Anyway. When equipped on Draco, increase NP damage by 30%. There it is again. Self buff on attack buff. And this only happens while she's holding the Grail. 40% chance to increase own NP damage by 10% for 3 turns when normal attacking. Note how this is 40, not 30 like the rest. Now, Draco gets her NP real fast. And she does a lot of damage, even outside of the NP damage context. And so having that be even a higher percent chance that she's going to be able to get that extra NP damage up is so strong for her. And then the holding the cup thing, I'm pretty sure lasts for 6 turns. It's for 3 turns. It's for 3 turns, 3 turn cooldown. Okay. Is it this? Yeah, these all last for fucking... One of these lasts for 6 turns. Am I stupid? Do I not know my own servants? Am I just an idiot? I am just an idiot. Well,
Bing bong bong bong.
point being, it's a really strong Mon CE. I think the tired is getting to me, chat. It's the first skill. Oh, it is the first. Okay, I'm not an idiot. I'm just stupid. 6 turns 6 times. 6 times. The higher scaling makes sense considering that the Grail status goes down compared to most other ones having it up the whole time. I mean, that's fair. It's really strong. I think like a C. C is good. Alright, last one. G. Willikers. I wonder who this could belong to. Space Arash Kigo. When equipped on Space Arash, increase own NP damage by 30%, increase own critical damage against servant enemies by 30%, increases own Master Affection level by 1. Now, the first effect is really good because, of course, Space Arash can loop her NP on its own really effectively. Extra damage against servants is a little bit more niche. Crit damage against servants is a little bit more niche, but is still very applicable. Absolutely. And then increase own Master Affection level by 1 off rip is so important for her. Like, getting her affection level up isn't the hardest thing to do, right? Like, she's, no offense to Arash, but if you smile at her long enough, she's gonna get affectionate towards you. It's useless for friend Arash, unfortunately. Fuck them. Fuck them. I have a 120 Space Arash, and I don't have her on my support list. You want to know why? That's my waifu. Simple as. I can flex that she's there, but it's really, there's other units that, you know, are better suited for the slot. Yeah, the Master Affection thing is really important to get up for her. So, it's 3 really strong skills. I'm gonna put that into A. Especially as, like, it's just a permanent passive. Oh my god, that shit is gonna go crazy. Anyway, that's my list. If I had to pick which is the best of the best, who has the best Bond CE in the entire game, Barghest. I think that when the Grand Servant thing rolls around, I unironically think that Barghest Bond CE is going to be the best in the entire game. Just because it flows so well with how with what her game plan is, and it never goes away. With the Herc thing, you eventually run out of guts, right? And Herc is also, I mean, this is a weird thing to say, but Herc is also, unfortunately, a berserker. So he can, if he gets unlucky and gets, like, crit down pretty quick, he's just kind of dead. Is there an exact date for Grands yet? Nope. The Barghest thing, being able to pair that with, like, real CEs as well is going to be actually kind of ridiculous. It's going to move her from being a character that I would personally consider to be a, like, I would put Barghest into the S tier. She's one of the best sabers in the game already. And then if you put her from there and then you do this, she might be one, like in the top 5 best sabers in the entire game. By just this combination alone. Because she's functionally unkillable. Unless she gets all of her buffs removed and then hard targeted by a lot of unlucky crits, you can't kill her. It's just not going to happen. And so I think on that basis alone, I think Barghest is there's probably a little bit of bias in me talking, you know? Because I'm a very well-known Barghest enjoyer, but it's just so good. But hey, you tell me, chat, YouTube comments, what do you think? Let me know down below. If you're on YouTube, hey, come check us out over on twitch.tv/KlidgeRadio. You should also check out things like the Patreon and the merch store and the Discord. And if you're also watching, you made it this far, hey, do me a favor, subscribe. I got daily content coming up on the shorts end of things. For now, though, everyone on YouTube, as well as everybody over on Twitch, I'll catch you all later. Thanks for hanging out. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your night. Peace out. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.